everyone and welcome to my mid-year series check-in. I know we're not technically in the middle of the year anymore, but August kind of still counts as the middle of the year for me, so I figured now would be a good time to do the mid-year series check-in and have a look to see if I've made progress in any series, if I've finished any series, and how many more I have started. So I'm going to start with the finished series first, just because that's the first ones on my list, and I've managed to finish a grand total of 15 series this year. And when I say finish, I also mean catch up as to where they've been published to, and I can't physically read anymore until another book comes out. And I mean, 15 is not bad considering we're only in August and I haven't really been paying that much attention to my series, to be honest, but I'm very happy with that. Some of the series that I have finished is Market of Monsters, which is a morally grey fantasy thing that I absolutely loved. I really wanted to finish that before I went on to Rebecca Schaeffer's next series, which is City of Nightmares. I'm very glad to have finished that. I absolutely loved that series and I loved the ending to the final book. I've also finished Bloodstained Teeth. This is a vampire duology graphic novel series that I really enjoyed, about a vampire who's been turning other people into vampires for money for years now, and the vampire council have gone, you need to stop doing this before our secret's revealed, go around and kill them all. I really like this series. I gave each one 4 stars and it was only a duology sadly, but I'm hoping there will be more spin-offs in this series coming like soon or so, because I really enjoyed this world. But either way, it was a duology that I started and finished this year, and I'm very happy to not have that hanging over my head as well now. I also caught up with I Hate Fairyland again because this just restarted. This is about Gert, who got sucked into Fairyland at the age of 6 and has essentially been stuck there for the last 30 years, and she's trying to Deadpool her way out. I read the original series years ago now, really enjoyed it, and as soon as the next one came out I reread the entire series and then read the 5th volume, which was Gert's Inferno, that came out this year as well. Really enjoyed it. I also caught up with the Final Strife as well, which means I've read the Battle Drum, which was the second one in this series. I don't know if it's going to be a trilogy or longer. Either way, I have continued on with this series. I really enjoy it. Again, this is like a political fantasy where we are dealing with a caste system, and the people on the lowest rungs are trying to like destroy these higher rungs and stopping this huge systematic inequality and essentially slavery from happening, this kind of thing. Really enjoyed the series, and I read the Battle Drum as soon as it came out, so very glad I don't have that hanging over my head either, because I have a terrible habit of like pre-ordering the next book in a series and then just not reading it, so I'm very glad that I dropped everything to read it, or at least prioritised it. There's also Bitter Root. I also managed to finish that one recently this month actually. There's only 3 volumes in this. I had to reread the first 2 and then read the 3rd one, and I think it's meant to be continuing, but I haven't seen anything about it in a while, but fingers crossed it is continuing. Either way, if it continues or even if it doesn't, I'm fully up to date and technically finished with it. Rat Queens I caught up with and have sadly DNF'd for reasons that I spoke about in my reading vlog that I have already up or will be up next. Either way, I was really enjoying this. Then the 8th volume kind of fell off for me, and we're going back to now the original writing and artist team, but that artist is not someone that I am going to be supporting in any way whatsoever. I also recently finished Secret Warriors. This is a series about Fury creating a team of superpower people, and it involves people like Daisy Johnson and Yo-Yo, people like this who you will know from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show if you watched it. On a side note, pay your writers, seriously. Just Hollywood, just negotiate and agree to their terms, for God's sake. Stop being idiots here. Anyway, this was very much a really enjoyable series. I read it throughout the month of July, I think it was, and quite enjoyed myself. Still very glad to have finished that one. I will say the final volume was a little bit confusing, but overall it's a really enjoyable series. Very glad to have finished it. I also finally finished The Dark Artificers. This is the 3rd trilogy, I think it is 4th trilogy. It's another trilogy within the Shadowhunters universe, and this one is following the family from LA, Emma and Julian. That's it. Emma and Julian, the Blackthorns. I forgot their names for a second. And I had put off reading the Dark Artifices last year because it was nearly 1,000 pages long, and I was like, I am not going to be able to read all of that. But in the end, I listened to this on audiobook, and it worked really, really well for me. So I'm glad that I finally finished that. I do try to read like 3 Shadowhunters books a year, so I now think I'm going to go on to the Shadowhunter Market series? No, the Red Scrolls of Magic, that's what it's called. The ones that focus on Magnus and Alec, because there's only 2 of those, and I can just be fully caught up with that in time for whenever Cassandra Clare makes another one, if she is making another one. I don't know if she is making another one. I know she's got one final trilogy left to write, but I haven't started her previous, like the Chain of Thorns one either. Either way, I'm going to be reading Magnus and Alec next, so I can be that much further into completing the Shadowhunters universe, or at least like catching up with it. So next year I'll be focusing on like the Chains of Thorns series. I just want to read Magnus and Alec's story now because it kind of follows on from the Dark Artifices, and they're also considerably shorter, which means they'll be easier to fit into a TBR somewhere, not gonna lie. I also managed to finish as well Brian Michael Bendis' Miles Morales series. This is the original Miles Morales series. Very, very excited to have it done now. I really, really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed finding out more about like where Miles came from and like how he became a superhero and all of this kind of thing. I really enjoyed that origin story. Very glad to have finished that one as well. Even if I did start it this year, I still finished it this year as well, which definitely counts. There was also Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which I did not enjoy. If you haven't noticed, there is not a live stream at all for the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy because we, as part of the Don't Forget Your Towel Along, just decided that we weren't going to do it because most people hadn't finished it. I was someone who ploughed on because I really wanted to, and I figured that we were possibly going to be doing a live stream, but when it got to the end of it, I'm glad we didn't, because I would have just ranted, because that final book made the whole thing pointless. The final book made the whole thing pointless. I talk about it more in my reading vlog that I'll link up above, but Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the whole thing was sexist and random and felt like Douglas Adams was just making things up and just chucking them on the page whenever they sounded good without caring about like flow or anything else, and it just wound me up the whole time. It was also incredibly sexist, and then the ending just rendered the whole thing pointless in the end anyway, so I was just done with it at that point, and I'm glad I finished it. I'm glad I read it in the sense that I've now read a very classic sci-fi series, but not for me whatsoever, but at least I don't have it hanging over my head anymore, so that's a plus point. I've also caught up with Something Is Killing the Children in terms of reading the main series. I have not read the spin-off yet. I am saving that for Halloween, and that will definitely be read by the end of the year, but I am caught up with the main story about Erica, which I'm very, very happy with as well, because I love this series. This is all about a monster hunter. This is very much a horror graphic novel, and I absolutely love it, so very glad to be caught up with that, so whenever volume 6 comes out, I can just buy it and read it immediately. I also finally finished Reign of X as well, which is so relieving. I was so happy to have finished Reign of X because I have had the entire Krakoan era of the X-Men, which is their current X-Men run where they are on the island of Krakoa and what's happening there, hanging over my head for about 2 years now, and I hadn't even got to the first Hellfire Gala yet. For context, we're now on to the 3rd Hellfire Gala in the actual like run that is being released at the moment. I hadn't even read the first one at the beginning of this year, so finally caught up there and read the first Hellfire Gala, which is a start, and I've now started Trials of X, but I'll talk about that more in a minute. At the very least, I finished Reign of X, which was the second sort of era within this era, I guess you could say. It's sort of like the second big story arc. That's what I'm getting at. It's the second big story arc within this Krakoan era. I've now got Trials of X, like I said, and then Fall of X, but that hasn't started coming out in bind-ups yet, so I'm fine. I'm just going to work my way through Trials of X. But at the very least, Reign of X is done, which is amazing, because I didn't think I was going to get through that quickly, and I just blasted through it in January, because I was like, I need to get this done. So I'm very glad that I got it done. I just need to continue now, which I haven't done yet, but more on that in a minute. I then also have caught up on the Last Fallen Star series. So this was the Last Fallen Star and the Last Fallen Moon. This is part of the Rick Riordan Presents series, and this is fun. It's just like a middle grade that works very much like the rest of Rick Riordan Presents stuff, where we're dealing with kids who are part of the a pantheon of gods, or they are like reincarnations of the pantheon of gods or whatever, and they have to go on quests, this kind of thing. And this was a fun one. I'm glad to have like caught up with it again, and I will be looking forward to the next one coming out and reading that on audiobook as I've done for the other two. And it's going to take a while because my library takes a while to get these things in, but fingers crossed, as soon as it's available I will be able to read it. Either way, at the moment I'm fully caught up with it and I have gotten to where it is published. There's also Paper Girls. I had this one hanging over me for a while. I finally continued and finished this series. I got up to like volume 4 originally, and there was like 6 volumes. I finally blasted through all of them, and this was weird. It was just weird after a while. This is sort of like a very Stranger Things type idea, but make it sci-fi, futuristic and wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey, this kind of thing. I did really enjoy it, but at the same time that final one did just lose me a little bit, but overall it was enjoyable and I'm glad to have finally finished it. And then finally, the final thing I've caught up with is Spy X Family. I've done that as of this month. I currently am waiting for like the next one to release and make it its way to my library, and I'm very, very like excited about this series. This is all about a spy who is part of a like family. He has had to find a wife and a daughter as part of a mission, but he doesn't realise that his wife is an assassin and his daughter can read minds and his dog can see the future. It's really fun, it's really bonkers. I have a great time reading it, and I'm so glad that the 9th volume was available on my library. I was like, right, I'm having that immediately, so very glad about that. I now just need to bug them until they get the 10th volume in, which hopefully it will happen, but it's a library, who knows. I don't control the library, I wish I did, but either way, I'm fully caught up and ready for the 10th volume whenever it arrives. And that's all the 15 series that I've finished or caught up with. As for what I have started, I've started 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I've started 14 series, so I'm still technically one up on where I was. I'm counting that as a success. I'm counting that as a success at the moment because I'm still like one better than where I was at the beginning of the year, so I'm counting it as a win. Either way, I've started Trials of X, like I mentioned. I am 1 volume in at the moment, but I've still started it, so it counts. I've also started Kill or Be Killed. This is a series about a guy who sort of comes back to life, and then a demon haunts him and says, for every month you live, you have to kill someone else and you have to kill a bad guy. I just started this week, really, really enjoying it. I really like this concept. The artwork is really great fun. I really just enjoy this. I find it an interesting concept and what it's talking about, and talking about like hunting down bad guys and vigilantism and all of this kind of thing. So I'm really glad to have started this series, though I don't know when I'm going to continue because I don't own any more volumes of it. I'm waiting for Comixology to pull its finger out and do a decent sale, but I don't know. Either way, I will be hopefully continuing this soon, but I've at least read everything that I own in this series. There's also Lockwood & Co. I've read the first 2 in this series so far. I started it this year and I then continued on with the second one, which was The Whispering Skull, and then I've got the final 3 to go. I just haven't read those yet, mainly because I'm slightly putting it off because Lucy as a main character is absolutely insufferable. Because she's so not like other girls and so fat-phobic to George, who has done absolutely nothing to her, and eats the exact same amount of food she does and the exact same food she does, but she's really like fat-phobic towards him the whole time and really rude to him the whole time, despite the fact that he's done nothing to her. And she's just not like other girls every single time. It's very much like she's complaining about having to wear a dress and having to wear heels and like all of this kind of thing, and being like, oh, but I'm not like other... It's just that classic not like other girls thing, which is really grating. I love George, I love Lockwood, I love the spooky nature of this. I just don't like Lucy, which is a problem. I want to continue on with this series, but Lucy is a problem. For me personally. I know other people really like her, I just don't, but I do definitely want to finish this series because otherwise I do enjoy it. It's just Lucy that's stopping me at the moment. I would have blasted through this series a long time ago if it wasn't for Lucy, to say the least. But either way, I have started it and made progress with it. I've also started The Mirror. This is a series done by Disney Hyperion, I think, following several generations of a family as they are all dealing with this one curse. I read the first one, which was The Broken Wish. I should also mention that each of these books is done by a different author, and I've only read the first one so far, but I do own the second one, which is Shattered Midnight. I just haven't read it yet, but I definitely really want to really soon, but at the very least I've started the series and I own the second one, so I can just continue it on. I don't think the third one's out yet, so I just need to read one book and then I'll count that under finished, because I'll be caught up with it, but I don't know when I'll get to that, hopefully soon, because I did really enjoy it. There's also The Stardust Thief. I started this one. This one is based on the 1001 Nights. I really enjoyed this world. I really enjoyed the characters and everything else. But the second one hasn't come out yet, so I technically can't continue it at the moment. I don't think the next one's out till next year, so I'm not going to beat myself up about not continuing on with this series because I physically can't at the moment. But I have started it and really enjoyed it. I've got the next one on pre-order, so hopefully I'll be able to read it as soon as it arrives and I won't ignore it for 3 years. Fingers crossed. There's also Like a Charm. I read the first one. I haven't read the second one yet either. This is by Elle McNichol and it's about a young girl in Edinburgh who can see like what's really there and like the magic behind things. I really enjoyed the first one. Maybe not as much as I enjoyed Elle McNichol's other works, but I still want to continue on and round it off because there's literally only 2 books in this series, so it wouldn't be too much for me to read the next one. I own it. I just haven't done it yet, so I need to get on that. There's also the Toby Day series. I've read the first 2 in this series, and I have bought the third one. This is about a private detective in a world where there is fae and this kind of thing. And I really enjoyed this. This is definitely like a really fun series to read. I'm just taking my time with it because I'm not going to try and stress myself out about trying to catch up with it at the moment because there's like 16 books in this series and I'm like, I'm not going to get through that in a year. I'm just not going to get through that in a year, no matter how hard I try, unless I really go for it, and I don't want to burn myself out on this series or anything. So I quite like sort of just picking one up whenever I fancy it, this kind of thing. So I'm quite happy that I've only read 2 of them so far. It's still progress. I've got the next one lined up, so I can read that whenever I want to, this kind of thing. And I'm just going to sort of slowly work my way through it. I'm not going to try and stress myself out about either of Seanan McGuire's series because there's that one and then there's also the Encrypted series which I haven't started yet, which is also like 15 books long, and I'm not going to try and stress myself out about trying to catch up with those immediately or anything because they're just too long. They're just too long. They're going to take several years to get through and that is fine. There's also The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. This is a duology about a sort of thing that happens when a city grows to a certain size. It then ends up with like an avatar for it, but in this one there's like 5 people who all represent New York. I really enjoyed this first one. The second one is admittedly out, but it's only available in hardback and I want the paperback so my copies match. So that's the only reason why I haven't read this yet. I am waiting for the paperback, which should be, I think, later this year. I'm hoping later this year. Either way, as soon as that arrives, I'll be able to tick this one off the list as well, hopefully. There's also Saga that I started this year, have not continued because I'm waiting for the next volumes to go on sale, which they haven't done yet, so I'm kind of waiting on that at the moment so I can continue on with this series. But I reasonably enjoyed it. It's sort of Romeo and Juliet in space. I will say I think it's going to take me a few volumes to maybe properly warm up to it, but I did reasonably enjoy it. I'm intrigued enough to continue. I just haven't yet, like I said, because I'm waiting for things to go on sale. There's also the Chronicles of St. Mary series that I finally started after years of my mum nagging me to read this. This is about the disaster magnets of St. Mary's. They are a bunch of historians who can travel in time, and it is ridiculous. It is very funny. It is ridiculous, and I've really enjoyed this series so far. I've read the first 2 books in this series. I haven't admittedly continued in a little while, but I'm thinking I may read the 3rd one around November, which is around the time the Doctor Who's 60th anniversary shows come out, and I'm just going to be mainlining everything to do with Doctor Who and like time travel and stuff, so I may read some more then, I think. Probably around then, so I'm kind of saving the 3rd one for then, or maybe the 4th one if I read one in between, I don't know. But this series is like 10 books long. I'm not going to try and push myself to try and finish all of them this year or catch up or anything because it is quite a big series, and then there is also spin-offs and stuff. So I'm just quite happy to sort of like dip in and out of this series, but at the very least I've started it and made progress with it, which is exactly what I wanted. I've also started The Marvellous by Donny L. Clayton. This is a magical school series, and I cannot continue on with this one because the second one isn't out yet. Which is great because it means I've read the first one, I've now got the second one to wait for, it's fine, I've got it on pre-order, but at the very least I have started it. We Are Blood and Thunder I started last month, I think it was. Yeah, it was last month, and I really enjoyed this. This is a world where there's a bunch of gods and this kind of thing, and I know the sequel is more like a companion book set in the same world but with different characters, but I am still very much intrigued by it, so I do want to continue on with it. I just haven't yet for no apparent reason, so I need to get on that, to be fair. Definitely need to get on with that. Black Hammer, I've also just started. This is about a bunch of superheroes who are trapped in a town that works a bit like the Twilight Zone. They can't leave, but everybody else can, this kind of thing. And I recently just started this month. And again, I'm waiting for sales to happen so I can buy some more in the series, because this was really interesting. I really like this one. I love the dynamics it had in here. I also really like the like references to other superheroes in here, like Captain America, people like this throughout here, that kind of thing. Really enjoyed it, so I will be continuing on with the series. Again, I am just waiting for more to arrive, but at the very least I've read up to where I am, which is just the first volume, but that's fine. I've still started it. It's all good. And then finally there is The Wicked and the Divine. Again, this is another one where I'm waiting for more to go on sale. I've read the first 2 in this series. I am loving everything about this. I'm loving the plot twists of it, the world of it. I am loving as well, like, all of the character design in here. It is stunningly gorgeous. I am absolutely loving everything to do with that, and just everything to do with it in general. I just haven't continued because I'm waiting again for more books to arrive, like on sale. That's all I'm waiting on. I'm literally just waiting for them to go on sale, and then I will be continuing on with it. But at the very least, I've continued on up to where I physically can with what I own, which is still progress. It is progress, and that's all I wanted. And then if we go on to my tablet, as you can see there's a couple of other series as well that I haven't mentioned yet, where I've made progress in them, but I haven't finished them. But, I mean, progress is still progress, and it gets me one step closer to finishing these series. I'm going to start with the Pages & Co series, because that seems to be the best place to start, because it's the first one on my list, and I've managed to read one more book in the series, which means I've read 2 out of the original trilogy, which is great. It means I've only got 1 book left. Can't read the next one though because I don't own it, so I'm just waiting to buy it at some point, or like find it in like a charity shop or something, or waiting until like Christmas for like my mum to buy it for me or something, because she also really enjoys this series. So that's kind of my plan at the moment. Either way, I've only got 1 left in this series, and then I think there is a spin-off, but people don't enjoy it as much. I still want to read it. Without doubt, I still want to read it. I just probably won't prioritise it as much in case I don't enjoy it as much as the original series, but I definitely still want to read it, because I do enjoy the fact that this series is a love letter to books and readers and bookshops and libraries and this kind of thing. I love all of that. I really love all the illustrations in here as well, and the characters and everything else, and I do really want to continue it. I just haven't because I don't own the next one, so that's fine. There's also Once and Future. This is a King Arthur retelling with like a horror-y twist, where King Arthur is actually not a good guy, and I've read 2 more volumes in this. There is at least 1 more, I think, or 2 more that I haven't read. I think I own the 4th one that I haven't read. I'm gonna have to double check this. I think I've read the 4th one. No, I haven't read the 4th one, so I need to read the 4th one and then also buy the 5th one, and then however many more there are. But I haven't got to those yet, because again, I'm waiting on sales. Like I said, Comixology has not had a good sale in a while, so I'm waiting for the sales to arrive before I start buying things again, because I usually buy my comics on sale, because then they're like a third off, or like a third of the price, which is always good, because it means I get to buy more comics, which is always a good thing. So I'm currently just waiting on a sale so I can buy some more of these, but either way, I've made progress with this series, and I've caught up to where I have owned, I think now? I think. Either way, I've made progress in it, which is the main thing. Apologies if I've just moved a little bit, but my camera ran out of memory and I just had to quickly erase some stuff. Anyway, so the only other thing I've made progress in is Low, and that's really fun. This is a futuristic sci-fi all about like climate change and things, and about family trying to save humanity and also each other after they've been separated. I again have not read further than volume 4. I've read the 4th volume this month actually. I haven't continued though because I am again waiting on a sale. But yeah, I did quite enjoy myself. I did I really like the series. I just need to continue on with it, but again, I am waiting on a sale. And then there's a few things I just haven't continued for no apparent reason. The first one is the Discworld. I know I reread the We Free Men, but I haven't continued on with that series or any other Discworld series, and I try to read at least like 2 Discworld books a year, so I need to get on with that because I haven't done that yet whatsoever, so I definitely need to continue on and actually, you know, read some more Discworld. I also haven't continued on with the Fable series for no apparent reason further than it got a little bit confusing. To be fair, it did get a little bit confusing because I was leaving it so long between volumes, so what I think I may do is just go back to the beginning and reread the lot of it. For those who don't know, I call this like Once Upon a Time, but for adults, with the sense that fairy tale characters have been cursed into the real world, this kind of thing, and it's really enjoyable. It is getting a little bit sort of political and warlike and things, but I think I'd enjoy it more if I went back and just reread the entire lot so I could just refresh my memory on everything, because otherwise I feel like I'm just trying to play catch up quite a lot of the time, which is not fun when you're trying to sort of like wrap your head around all of the political machinations and everything. But I just need to do that. I need to find time to do that. To be fair, I could have done that in this 31 in 31 challenge that I'm doing at the moment, but never mind. Another one I haven't continued is Murderbot, but I want to reread Murderbot because I read the second one but forgot what happened in the first one. So what I want to do is go back to the beginning and just like reread both of them and then continue on with that series. Admittedly, I don't own any more in the series, so I've got to, again, wait for a sale or wait until I'm about to treat myself. But I do definitely want to continue on with this series. I just haven't done it yet because, like I said, I need to find time for that reread and then also to find the next ones in the series so I can read them. Inkheart, I haven't made any sort of progress in whatsoever. I read the first one last year for a reading vlog and then never continued because the books are chunky and I've had a very busy year so far. So I may continue on this year with Inkspell, I think it is, but I haven't done it yet. I really should, I just haven't. Blame the fact that it's a really long book. Blame that one. That's what I'm blaming it on. I'm blaming on the fact that it's a really long book. No other reason, it's just really long. And then there's The Sandman. Haven't continued The Sandman. I could have read the comics. I actually did read one comic, admittedly, but I'd already listened to it as the audiobook. So it technically didn't count as making progress. I'm really bad at this. I've just got one like audiobook left and then I'll finish the main series. I just haven't done it yet because I was like, oh no, I'll wait for series 2. But series 2 is currently on strike, rightfully so, because of all of the actors and writers strikes, which I fully stand with, by the way. I will wait as long as needed so everyone gets paid properly. But I just need to finish the series, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll just wait until this like the new season comes out. And I'm like, no, just read it now. Just read it now, stop saving things. There's a thing called rereading. I need to get it into my head that I can reread things around the time the thing is coming out or getting adapted, so I can just read it now. So that's what I need to do. I need to pull my finger out and listen to the audiobook and then maybe save the comics for when the TV show comes out. That sounds like a plan. I'm going to do it that way round. So as soon as I get 5 minutes to listen to like a long audiobook, I'm going to finish The Sandman. And then afterwards, I can read all of the spin-offs. Because it's not like that's it and that's the end of The Sandman. Because there's a whole load of other ones. There's like the spin-offs about death. There is the Dead Boy detectives I could go into. There is like all the other ones that are about various different members of like the Dreaming. There is the Books of Magic series. There's loads of them. There's like, it's not like I'll just be leaving The Sandman and then that'll be it. There's loads more to read, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to listen to the audiobook, round it out, because I kind of know how it ends, but I also want to see, like, who the prodigal is and everything. I just need to do it. That's what I'm getting at. I just need to do it and pull my finger out. And now, again, sorry if I've changed angle or anything. My camera battery died this time instead, because apparently I did not prepare for this video whatsoever. But never mind, we're now at the end, because I think that's all I really had to say on everything. I've covered everything I wanted to. I have finished 15 series, or at least caught up with them. I've made progress on another 3, which means I have 18 in total that are either like on the way to being completed or completed, and I've started 14 series, so I'm still finishing more than I've started, which is exactly what I wanted, so I'm pretty happy with that. And to be honest, I don't think there's really anything else to say apart from I need to learn to remember that I can reread things around the time that their adaptations come out, and I can just read the thing now and I don't have to wait, because that's just stupid. So I think that's why I need to learn from this, is that I can reread and not just read it for the first time when the thing comes out, and I can just read it now. And also maybe I should look on the library for some of those comics as well, because you never know, they may be there and I can save myself some money. So I think that's what I need to take away from this video, because I don't think there's anything else I really need to improve upon or anything, because like I said, I am finishing and continuing more series that I'm currently starting, which I'm pretty happy with. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave this video here. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, tell me a series you really need to finish this year. I'd love to know. Or if you don't have that much time, leave me a book stack emoji down below to let me know that you were here. I'll also leave a link as well down below to all my social media if you want to check it out, including to the Comic Book Sanctum, which is my website dedicated to Marvel Comics, which is filled with a ton of reading orders and a whole lot of other things to do with Marvel Comics if you're interested in that. And I'll also leave a link as well down below to my Etsy store that sells bookish merch if you're interested in that as well. Or if you just want to see any more of my videos, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But until next time everyone, bye!